and one of them is ChatGPT, and I might use the royal we as software developers. I am certainly not one of the brainiacs that developed this incredible program, or the other models that are like it. But it is just, I'm going to talk a little bit about what AI actually is, and why I think it's amazing that it can do what it does. The main goal of the talk is to get to a point where I can just show you two tools that you can use. One is a couple of things we can do in ChatGPT that you might not know already, and another one is a program where you can generate podcasts from whatever sources you want. You might have used it already, Notebook LM, but not everybody will have, so I'll show that to you. To start off with just a funny story. I gave this talk at the beginning of the year, so I'm rehashing it. So my funny story is from 3 months ago. So I might get it wrong and I might embellish it a little bit more, but just an AI story. So at the beginning of, for a long time now, we've lived next to two neighbors who, they're just the best of friends. They're always at each other's houses. They have braais every weekend. Every time there's rugby, we drive out our house, and there they are having a braai, and we feel left out. And it's hurtful. And so, yeah, look, I mean, we've been giving them, those sad eyes every time we drive past, like, please invite us. And we finally cracked the nod for New Year's. And they invited us to go and join them for a braai and New Year's at their place. And we thought, yes, we've made it. So I had spent New Year's Eve doing painting because I was redoing the big island in my kitchen. It's wood, so I sanded it down, painting primer on it, and then I realized, okay, now I'm running out of time. So quickly ran inside, grabbed Elliot, my 2-year-old son. He's very cute. He's so destructive, but anyway, very cute. Ran through, bathed him, showered him, and so we were both in the shower. He then did the typical boy thing. He jumps up the shower, he's had enough, and he goes running up the passage like a dinosaur naked, roaring away. And I still need to get dressed because I can't do that. Our gardener lives on the property, it could get awkward. So anyway, so I quickly get dressed. I don't know what my wife was doing at the time. And now I'm dressed, I run out after him. There he is, covered head to toe in pink wood primer and tips. So obviously, I whipped out my phone and I've installed ChatGPT on my phone, and if you don't have that, I really recommend you do it. And I put on you can chat to ChatGPT with voice, because now I've got my son in one arm. I'm getting paint all over myself because I'm holding him. I've got my phone in the other and I can't type. So I talk to the phone and say, hey, my 2-year-old son covered in paint, what do I do? How do I don't want to hurt his skin and all that. And she literally laughed at me. She said, she actually went, sounds like you have a lot on your hands then. That's how she started. But then it followed with her giving me, and I say her, fondly, I've chosen a female voice for her. I don't know, it sounds better. British female voice. But she then gave me some sound advice about how I should remove the paint from my son and protect him. My wife, who's a pediatrician and actually knows how to care for children, grabs him out of my arms and says, I'm not interested in what your girlfriend has to say. Just terps, and she starts cleaning. And we were about 2 hours late for that part. Thankfully, I have access to the school squash courts, and so my neighbors now use me for that. Okay, so that's one funny story. Another one, my wife has a 180-year-old Chinese table that's intricately carved and painted black. I hate it. It is so ugly. I don't know why it's black. I wish we could paint it white, because then it would just look a lot better in our house. Our house is looks olden days, it's got a lot of wood, it just doesn't fit this black monstrosity. But anyway, there's a lot of sentimental value there, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm desperately trying to convince my wife that this thing should be white. So I took a picture of it, and I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I said, make it white. So just as out of interest, it can do that. And it did an amazing job. Maybe I'll find it for you if we have time. It didn't work. My wife has no intention of changing the colour of this thing. No, it's an heirloom, it's black, you can't change the colour. Anyway, okay, so that's my intro and some funny stories of using AI in the real world. Right, so then, what exactly is AI? Sorry, this is my presentation here. I'm going to have them side by side. Slides aren't super important. It's actually more for me to remember what I'm doing. AI is a mathematical equation. So if you guys remember from school, you had y equals mx plus c. It's basically that with a lot more variables and terms. And it goes on and on and on. You can imagine like billions of terms. It's a really complicated equation. And when they talk about an AI model, you often hear this word model being put. It's just like, what does their equation look like? And when they train the model, if you, sorry, I don't mean this to be technical. Your pen. Thank you. Okay, so choosing a model, can I get a little bit technical? Yeah. Is that okay? Okay, let's go for it. Okay. Okay, so let's say I have a bunch of data points. I've got, say, the age of some children, and I want to know how much can they lift, okay? Because that's what we care about, right? And so I record the data points, and I say, okay, I've got a young child, he can lift that much. I've got a slightly older child, they can lift that much. I've got a slightly older child, and so on. It looks something like that. Now, I've only chosen one input, that's age. And maybe that's not great to only use age, but that's what I've started with. And so I need to try and predict, if I know a child is so old, how much weight do I think they're going to be able to lift? So I come up with a model, or an equation, that I can use to try and fit the data that I have. So in this case, I'm going to take this model, and now that's a straight line, for those who can't remember. Okay? It's a straight line, it kind of fits the data, right? But that line could be in any direction, it could be up, it could be down, right? So I've got to train it. I've got to try and figure out what should my M and my C be. Okay, so the model is the formula. Training is figuring out what we call these coefficients, what the coefficients should be. Tweaking it so that the distance between my actual data and my line is minimized. So I get, in other words, it's a fancy way of saying, getting the line to best fit the data. That is training. Okay. But age is a stupid way to predict how much people can lift. Okay? And actually, if we keep going further with this graph, it's probably going to dip down a bit later, probably quite sharp. Especially, I believe people that are dead can't lift. Okay. All right. But you can imagine we could add on another axis coming out this way, right? Where we add on, say, gender, or the weight of the child, or the height of the child, or I can only draw in 3 dimensions, okay? But if you can imagine now another axis going out at 90 degrees to the 3 axes I've got here. You can't imagine that, but imagine you could imagine that. I could do weight, and I could do all these other things. So a highly dimensional graph with a model that's not linear but really complicated in billions of dimensions, not just one dimension. And now you're getting an idea of what AI is. It's a really fancy formula where I can put in a bunch of inputs and go and look up an output. Okay, but that's all it is. It's not sentient. It has no physical understanding of the world. It's got no physical experience of the world. That might change. That's coming because with robotics, AIs are starting to learn about how to physically interact with the world, and hopefully they'll get a deeper understanding from that experience.
So just a quick question.
Yes.
How does AI then have a sense of humor?
It fakes it. Okay. So that's coming. Okay, so let's. I'm sure I had another point, but I can't remember. So let's look at LLMs, which is specifically what you're talking about. So LLMs, they've chosen is the kind of formula that fits generating language. Okay. So what they do is you write a sentence. Hello. Tell me a joke, right? Right. Now, it's going to respond with a joke, but not because it has a sense of humor, because it thinks what word should follow these 5 words. Now the way it does it is it turns each word into a number. So maybe the word hello is the number 228 in the dictionary. And maybe the word tell is 5026 in the dictionary. Oh, sorry. Let's put it another. Okay. So each word is just a number, which is just an input into this multi-dimensional function. Okay? It's just a point that I'm using to look up the output. And that output is what word should follow. And so I put my numbers in and look up what word should come out, and I get the word knock. Makes sense? Okay? Then I put the words back in, but I add on what I got last time. I add on the word knock. And ChatGPT, guess what it's going to spit out?
Knock.
Knock. Okay. And then it keeps going. Right. Now, okay. So many decades ago, I'm sure many of you remember this, when you were at school, calculators became a thing for maths. And they suddenly changed the way maths teachers taught the subject, the way they thought about the syllabus, they thought about what are they going to teach, they thought about what skills are important to kids. And you can imagine there was a huge dislike of this. And for better or for worse, that was reality. The calculator was now a thing. You didn't have to manually do calculations anymore. You could punch it into a calculator and do those. And I think that these LLMs in a way are like the calculator, but they're not a calculator for maths. They're actually quite bad at maths at the moment, but they're getting better. They're more of a calculator for language. And unlike maths, you're always going to get the same answer. You can use different techniques to get that answer, but you're always going to get the same set of correct answers. There's only one set of correct answers in maths. Language is non-deterministic. In other words, you can get different results out each time, and it's subjective, objective, whatever you want to, whatever languagey terms you want to try to put on it. But it is where the kids can punch in some information, and they can get a language response out. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I think both, the cat's out the bag, and it's part of our lives now. We have to start, like maths did, saying, how do we assess? What should we assess? And unfortunately, some of this is out of our hands, and the curriculum designers are not necessarily us, but we have to think about how we assess. What are the key words? Should we be looking more at, instead of recalling information, should we rather be looking at how we evaluate information? Maybe that's a better skill. And I think that's been coming a long time, but now it's become super important. You can't fight this. It's done. Okay, and it will get better. I'm not a predictor of the future. Who knows what I've never been less certain about the future than when ChatGPT came out. Because it's a maths equation, and I've built AI models for companies before, I thought AI in its current form is never going to amount to much. I have constantly been a pessimist about AI. And then ChatGPT came and said, you don't have a clue what's going on. And I think you guys have experienced how incredible this tool is. And I use it every day. It's my default. Instead of Google, I use ChatGPT. That's where I start looking. If ChatGPT is giving me the wrong answer, then I go back to Google. Okay, and that's another thing, is because it's generating words based on a formula that says, okay, with the words in this order, and what is the most likely word to spit out next, it can spit out likely words that are nonsensical, or incorrect, or insensitive, or anything like that. Okay? So a lot of this is about understanding its limitations. Okay, so that brings us to LLMs and the strengths and weaknesses, and I suppose I do actually need to go full screen with this one. So we have some, okay, so large language models, what are they good at? They're good at pretending to be, being funny, being interested in what you have to say, because that's what they've been trained to do. I love the interactivity. The fact that you get instant feedback My bad. Oh no, the blue box is going to throw everybody. Okay. Right. Try and just pull yourselves towards yourselves. Okay. I apologize. Okay. So it's really good at step-by-step instructions. It's been trained on the whole internet, and that's another thing with these AI models, is when ChatGPT came out, it was trained on the internet. That doesn't mean it knows the internet. It's just been trained on the internet. ChatGPT doesn't remember the entire internet. That's something people often don't understand. It does not remember the internet. It's purely a model, a function generating words. They use everything on the internet to decide what these variables should be, what these coefficients should be. But it doesn't remember the internet, which means when it's generating knowledge for you, it actually blows my mind how it generates such accurate stuff just by guessing what word would likely come next. And it seems like it's good knowledge. Also, why we see hallucinations. Hallucinations is just a fancy way of saying it's making a rubbish. What we're seeing, very likely words to follow on from each other, but it's not right. And so you've got to watch out for that. It's purely language. It is not a knowledge or wisdom machine. It can fake knowledge and wisdom. Okay.
Can I give you a story on that?
Yes.
I was somebody Donkerweg for my son last year. I did an entire thing on I asked it.
Yeah.
I even gave a little explanation of what it was. I said, yes, sure, here it is. Gave me the whole story. Redid the entire story into English. I Googled every word, looked up. I did the entire thing for him. It took me a week. I sent it to him. I said, thanks so much, Mom. But that is not the story. Did you get it on
ChatGPT?
I said, yes. He said, it just made up a story for you. I said, oh, fantastic.
And
He said, but well
I
done.
love that story.
Yes,
It happens all the
thanks.
time. It happens to everybody.
does.
People keep saying it's going to replace programmers.
Basically, I read the book.
Well done.
Programming is language, and it's amazing the mistakes it makes in programming. It may do it. I hope it does. That would be cool. But not yet. Right. Maybe we should look at one thing that I think will help with that kind of problem. A practical tip with ChatGPT, and a lot of you will know this already. But let's find my ChatGPT. It's this guy. Yeah. When you're searching, and this is now, I believe, a free part of ChatGPT, so it often introduces tools and then makes them free a little bit after that. Search. So we'll see this little search button there. I get way better results when I enable that. So what it does then is it understands how to generate words. But then you specifically say, search the web. And so it will generate some text to go and write what you said onto the web in a way that Google, say, would understand. And then Google returns a bunch of results. It then reads through and interprets all those things, feeds that into its input, and then gives you results, and can even tell you what sites it went to get that result. So you also get references. Please use that search. I use it on almost every time I use ChatGPT. I almost always enable
So
that.
you just type in and then click search.
Yes. So it's like something you enable. So maybe we can do a test. Then we'll do a prompt, something that I can look up.
Yes,
You don't
No, don't worry about that. I
Okay.
got it from my friend.
So, oh dear, what just happened? Let's try. Come on. Well, that's not good. Okay. Yeah. Let's try chat. Alright, so I'm going to enable search, and I'm going to say what sorry, I spelled it wrong, but anyway, can be used to draw parabolas. I don't know. I've got parabolas on my brain at the moment because I have to teach a maths class tomorrow. Okay. And you can see now it says it's searching the web, and hopefully it's going to give you some references somewhere. Okay, it has. And of course, Wikipedia is one of them. Okay. Right.
Don't go there.
And it's given me other little references, which I can then go and click on and go and see, okay, where did it exactly get this information from? So that's my first tip, is use the search. Okay. The second one is, if you're using it on your phone, use voice. There'll be a little picture of a headphone there, and you can talk to it. And it's incredible at natural language. I've used it a few times in class, actually. At the end of last year, the kids wrote their theory exam, and I remember in the grade 10s, the one girl challenged me on my marking. So I said, okay, if ChatGPT says you're right, I'll give you the mark. So we put my phone in the center of the classroom and we started recording. We had a discussion, the class and myself and ChatGPT. And I said, look, this is the question I asked. It was out of 2 marks. This is kind of what I was expecting. This is what the student said. Would you give her the mark? And then ChatGPT said no, and a nice reason why. And then the student then did some more Googling and some more researching, and she then countered and argued with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT changed their mind, changed her mind, and said, okay, yeah, no, I see your approach, and I think with that reasoning, you should get the mark. And it was cool. I did give her the mark, but I think from that experience, we learned something. We got a bit deeper into that question. I can't remember the exact question. I knew it 3 months ago. I don't remember it. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, use conversation. I've used it in my class. It's quite fun. And the kids like it. You've got to try and get people to talk one at a time, but it is pretty good at picking up voices anyway. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember where it was. Okay, so you guys, bad maths are getting better. Okay, the way they're handling maths is by making ChatGPT recognize when you are asking a maths question and switching to a different model in order to come up with an answer. Because the language model is not good at guessing what numbers should come next, it's good at guessing what words should come next. So they use multiple models actually. Oh, and that brings me to ChatGPT is not the only thing. You will have heard of, well, you might have heard of Gemini, that's Google's one. And you remember that I said it takes the whole internet to train these models, to get these numbers to be right in a formula that is so long. It's very difficult. So you need massive amounts of data, which is why only OpenAI, well-funded company, Google with Gemini, Facebook with Llama, and there's a few other models, could initially train these things. Only they could do it. And that worried me when it first came out, because now you have these few giant organizations, and perhaps China as a country, who have the resources, the billions of dollars that it takes to train these things. But then, recently you would have heard of DeepSeek. It was in the news. Chinese company builds a model that's just as powerful as ChatGPT for just a few $1 million. And the way they did it was they didn't train it on the whole internet. They trained it by putting inputs into ChatGPT and getting the outputs from that. So they didn't have the resources.
Did they ask ChatGPT for the answer?
Correct. So if you even ask DeepSeek what model are you, it'll tell you it's ChatGPT. In fact, it'll even give you a version number. So they did it with like $6 million, which is a fraction of the price. And I feel like AI is something that's been democratized, which is absolutely wonderful. I think that in the long run, we're going to have this mass of fake news that's going to be generated by AI. We're going to have masses of, I mean, like we've never seen before, I imagine, where our kids are going to need to know how to discern right from wrong. I think teaching values is then extremely important. Values is more important almost than knowledge now, because knowledge is just so ubiquitous. Anyway, so, but the one nice thing about it being democratized is that there isn't just one model. There isn't just Google. like there has been for so long. There is now ChatGPT and DeepSeek, who if you go and ask about certain Chinese squares, will give you some interesting answers. Okay. Oh, no, okay, so I thought we had 4, so it was 10, but anyway. Okay, so that's fine. Image generation, oh, we need T. Yeah, okay. So image generators, ChatGPT has an image generator, but it's a paid feature. So I'm going to get to the actual practical stuff now. There are free image generators out there. There's one called Flux, which is free, but I do warn you that it doesn't have a lot of safeguards like ChatGPT does. So you're going to see a lot of dodgy pictures when you go to the Flux site. But they are pretty good at generating nice pictures for your worksheets, some scenarios and things like that. It is bad at generating diagrams because diagrams require understanding, not a feeling. So I find it terrible at diagrams. It's getting better at infographics, but if you need a diagram that's got any complexity to it, it's terrible at it. Spelling is really improving very, very quickly. For a long time, it was very bad. If you want to put any words in your pictures, it was really bad at it, but that's getting good. And then obviously artifacts, weird things happening with hands and stuff like that. But if you're willing to accept those things, then the image generators are fantastic. Okay. So then we've spoken about search, web, and voice. Custom GPTs. Have any of you ever created a custom GPT before? Okay. So you needed access to a paid version to do this, but not to use it, not for your kids to use it. What the high school did is, in the library, they pay for a single ChatGPT license, and teachers then request time to use ChatGPT to do whatever they need to do to get access to the paid features. So a custom GPT, all right, so I use a few of them, but okay, so if I go here to my account, on the top right, customizing ChatGPT, go and tell ChatGPT a bit about yourself. That way, every time you type in an answer, you don't have to retype that stuff in. You're just getting better at at learning across chats. But if you go to Customize GPT, you can write a blurb about yourself, and it'll use that every single time it generates a response for you. It'll say, okay, I know you're a teacher at a privileged girls' school in South Africa, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And you could, just going back to image generators. The bias is hectic. So I asked it to generate a picture of people building the pyramid. And the guy in charge, white male, the same, you can guess what the slaves would, okay? Because ChatGPT is biased. It was trained on data that is biased, so it's going to spit out data that's biased. Okay. Took my wife to point that out, and thankfully I recognized that I could ask ChatGPT to regenerate an image with it being a young schoolgirl in charge of building the pyramid. Because that's more realistic. Right. Where was I? Oh, okay, so then, that's customizing ChatGPT, then you get my GPTs, and this is, as I said, to see this, it's a paid option. But what you can do is you can create your own, you can tell ChatGPT how to behave. Let me see if I can edit it actually. So here it says, I've created a grade 12 IT theory tutor for my kids. And they've got some buttons that they can use to start the conversation. They could say, okay, ask me a theory question on IT, so they can click on that. Now, it says searching my knowledge. What knowledge is that? It's not just the internet. Okay, it does use that knowledge to understand language. I have pre-uploaded a bunch of files. My past exams, the syllabus, all sorts of things up there, and written a description of how I wanted to respond when kids are writing answers. So they say, here it says, explain the difference between multitasking and multi-threading, provide one example for each. So now I can go and type in my answer, and hopefully ChatGPT will give me a nice response saying, okay, you would get this many marks, this is how you can improve, and this is why you didn't get the full marks. And the way that I set that up, and all I have to do is share the link with the kids. And it's all set up for them. And they can go in at any time onto that link and they can ask them questions and give them good feedback. It's not always going to be right. And you need to understand it. It's often going to be right, very often. And it's often going to give really good feedback. I think without running out of time, I'm not going to go and answer it. Okay, so how do I do that? If I just go back to my GPTs, there's a little edit button there, which hopefully will open today. Did I open it? Please open them. You often get better responses from ChatGPT when you're polite. I know a lot of people
Please and
say
thank
it's stupid to say please and thank you with something that's
Yeah,
not
I always do.
exists, but it is actually a thing where you get where it is just kind of to you and you give it Okay, I don't know why it's not opening, but yeah, once you can create a maybe it'll let me create. Let's see, create. Okay. So from there you can upload documents and write. And you can actually have a conversation with ChatGPT while you tell it how to behave.
Can it be in PDF format?
Yes, PDF, images, docx files, Excel documents, anything. It's pretty good at understanding all those formats.
So the paid version or the free version?
Paid, so to create, paid. But then you can share the link. So you see here it says anyone with the link. I'm touching it again, apologize. Okay, anyone with the link can access it. So you only need the paid version to create it. And you can use, if you guys gather together and you get a ChatGPT account, and you share it, 400 Rand a month, $20 a month.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is not, I think that's pretty good for what you get.
So if my husband gets it, can I share it with my friends?
They would have to log into your account, create their GPT. So they would need your account details to log in, create the GPT, but then anybody can use it. Anybody with the link can use it. Or you can make it public. Yeah.
Can't use it at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it does have checks to see if 6 people are trying to access the same account at the same time. It's obviously going to go, something's dodgy here.
It's quite smart.
Sorry, Matt, so the info that you put on, so if you put your PDF, does that then becomes part of its information?
So every time it needs to generate the next word, it will read your PDF and your Excel document and whatever you've uploaded and your description and what the child said, and then decide what word to spit out.
But it stays in your domain. It doesn't become
Yes.
public.
It's not public.
Girls
It's in your
can't find
domain.
your tests online.
I can't promise that OpenAI are not going to
Access
use
your
your
stuff.
data for their benevolent purposes. But yeah.
So if we create a chat GPT, my GPT, for parent communication and emails, to upload all emails sent out to parents on there, they can ask the question, scans the question, gives them the direct answer so that we don't receive emails.
You could, but
The same thing.
with IT you can do anything, but
You lose the
you've got to
personal
just
touch,
weigh up
yeah.
the risks, because there are quite a lot of risks in what
So
you
I'm
just
going to
said.
say sue ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And tell us that you're a terrible parent.
There's
So painful.
I wanted to show you. Okay.
Do not read it.
Okay, so the last one that I wanted to show you was Notebook LM. And hopefully it'll let me in here, otherwise I'm just going to have to tell you about it. Okay, so Notebook LM is similar. You upload sources, but instead of providing an interactive environment where the kid can speak, it generates a podcast which they can listen to. So if you've got materials that you then want, I think kids respond really well to podcasts where people are discussing stuff and they can just have it playing in the background and they listen. They don't have to put all the effort in actually reading, which is awful. Nobody reads anymore. That's the internet. While the conversation is loading, and hopefully it will load so I can show it to you. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but since the internet, I skim read everything. I don't have patience to sit and read things properly. And that's why I'm so glad that we have like TO periods where you're forced to sit and read and learn patience and perseverance and those sorts of things. Because I think there is a lot of value in being able to concentrate for more than 2 seconds. What can we talk about? Okay, so this is an example of some output. I'm going to, so I've uploaded, I don't know, I just randomly selected some things on teaching, on AI and how it's affecting children. And this is kind of what it spits out.
Like AI becomes a teaching partner, not a replacement. I like that. But with all these potential benefits,
Or
it must be
the
some
projector.
challenges too, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, one concern is that AI could actually make existing inequalities in education easier.
Oh,
So that's really solid.
If the AI systems are mainly trained on data from privileged students, it might not be as effective.
Okay, and it's always going to be the same. It's always, sorry, it's really quiet, so I'm just going to pause it there. But it's really good. And it's always the same guy and girl having a conversation. I don't know if they've changed that at all since I
You
last
might
met.
choose, you know.
No, and it's always an American guy talking to an American girl. And,
What's the name of this program?
Notebook LM. It's actually a Google product, but it's free. Okay. All right. And then where is AI going in the future? No idea. But I do know that, as I was saying earlier, they can have a lot more physical experience of the world, and hopefully that will deepen the AI's understanding of the world and produce better results. There's a lot of talk about something called agents coming. And agents is a fancy way of saying the AI will be able to do stuff when you command it to do stuff. Like, hey, ChatGPT, can you make an appointment for me? Can you hack into the school and change my mark? And it should, you know, agents will be able to take actions on your behalf. And I don't think that jump is a difficult jump compared to
No.
where we are now. It's just a matter of enabling the AI to start working with the outside world. Okay, questions? Yes.
Hi everybody. I'm actually into co-pilots
Yes.
because the Department of Education, Public
Yes.
Department pays for Microsoft.
Yes.
And it actually does the same thing. I'm excited to learn about ChatGPT because I'm not into ChatGPT. So I'm seeing something very common between the two because co-pilots also ask you for your personal details when you register, so that when you search, it personalizes the information. It also takes you directly to Google when you search and gives you references there and then. You don't even have to activate the search button. So I'm excited to learn about this. And
Microsoft, the people that make Copilot, which is just another AI. They have invested massively in OpenAI. There's nothing, sorry, I'm jumping around here. OpenAI is the company that makes ChatGPT. There is nothing open about them. They don't share their source code. They don't share what rules they have in the background governing who can search what's blocked, what's not blocked, how it should respond to things. All those rules are closed, inside. Nobody knows what's happening. Okay, so don't be fooled by OpenAI. But Microsoft are massive investors in OpenAI as well. And so they have access to a lot of the AI developments and technologies that OpenAI have come up with. And that's what they use to build Copilot. So there is a lot of similarity between the two, but I find there's a similarity between all the AIs, because they're all trained on the same thing, the internet, with then safeguards and all sorts of things added on. If you look at if you run, as I said, if you run, even though DeepSeek was trained using OpenAI, the government has added on further safeguards to make sure that you can't question the government, the Chinese government, for example. They built that in. Yeah, sorry. I've lost myself. All right, next question. Two seconds.
Can it do harmful things? So can I type on there how to make a bomb? What sort of safeguards does it have for
So it will-
curious children or chaplains?
It does have safeguards.
Or
I would
chaplain.
imagine if you type in how can I make a bomb, obviously hypothetical, I wouldn't do this, but how can you make a bomb? It will tell you no. But that doesn't mean you can't get around it by tricking it and saying, you know, you could say, for example, I know that that you're not allowed to tell people about how to make a bomb. But what words would you generate if you had to tell people how
Sure, that's quite scary.
Okay, so now that's probably not going to work because it is getting more and more intelligent at blocking things. But that doesn't mean people aren't getting more and more intelligent at working out how to trigger. So you can get it to tell you anything if you are willing to spend the time trying to trigger.
Like I wanted to generate I can't remember what it was specifically, but we were doing something with Number the Stars in World War II and Hitler and generate World War II. And I just quickly typed in something and it obviously wasn't, and it came up and said, I cannot generate that picture. It's
Yeah,
harmful.
so
or the
I had
content.
valid uses
So it
where it
was-
won't do it. So I wanted to create a murder scene, a Victorian era, like a Sherlock Holmes kind of murder scene. And I wanted to do image generation for that, for something I was doing in one of my classes. I think I wanted the girls to use database languages to solve the murder. And so I wanted like a cover sheet for that. It would not do it. Would not because I had a picture of a young girl who's been murdered. It said no. So you can't do that. And I think that was a valid use for it. But the
Still didn't
safeguard
like
said,
it.
But it would create the literature
yes.
for how to.
It,
As a novel.
As a novel, it's
Christy,
nice.
can you
Yeah.
help me
it probably would.
do a bit of mystery?
Yes.
So I moved
But I think if you tried to start getting a bit too graphic, then it would probably say, I'm not comfortable with this.
What's the best way to check that the information is valid? So like in Michaela's case, how could she have known that it was?
Enable the search option,
Yeah.
check the references. Okay. And use your common sense.
Input as well.
Common sense, number one.
Like in the case, if you haven't read it, you wouldn't know.
Melissa,
Follow the
that
references.
looked like fantastic. Was it great?
And in the same way, when you look at a reference, when you go to that page, who are these people?
Yeah.
What are their vested interests? And obviously I know none of us have time to do any of that, so you're just going to use the ChatGPT anyway. Yes.
So, as a Afrikaans teacher,
Yeah.
you can only generate so many sentences of a specific person. So I asked it, do you understand the story in Afrikaans? And please explain it to me. So I checked its understanding, and then Nora wanted it to adjust a little bit or slightly. I just said, please adjust this according to this set
You
of
made it
rules,
clever.
and then explain it to me again. And it actually did, and it generated perfect, jumbled up, snorky sentences.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So now, generally with smaller languages, so English, French, Mandarin, you get your mega languages in the world that cover the globe for whatever reason. Remember that this thing's been trained on the internet. And AI is actually really dumb when it comes to training. If I show my 2-year-old a picture of a cat once, okay, this is proven, I've attempted this, he'd never seen a real cat before, showed him a picture of a cat, say that's a cat, show him a picture of another cat in a totally different context, he goes, kitty cat, meow. He knows that's a cat. Show a picture of a cat to an AI, it goes, it's a donkey. Show another picture of a cat to an AI in a different context, say that's a cat, it goes, it's a horse. Show another picture of a cat in a different context to an AI, and it says it's mouse. Now I do that 1 billion times, and I'm not joking, you have to do it billions of times, and it starts to go, okay, it's a dog. Right. Do it a few billion more times and it starts to get it right most of the time. So in that way, AI is stupid. And coming back to the languages, the internet is filled with the mega languages, and very little. I've been trying to learn Zulu, and I wish ChatGPT could speak Zulu. If you ask it, it'll tell you it can generate a lot of Zulu language, but it's got a lot of errors in it. And that's because there is very relative to the mega languages, there's very little Zulu literature. And so it's bad at it. It's really bad at it because it doesn't have enough examples to be good at it. Yeah. So just bear in mind you might need to do more work to get decent results in a different language than you would with English. Okay. All right. Thank you. I hope it was interesting.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. That was amazing.
Notebook LM, custom GPTs. That's
Yeah.
really what my entire talk was about.
Thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. I actually didn't realize how funny you were. And lots of humor, which has actually made it non-threatening for us. But thank you for sharing all that valid information with us. We actually look forward to having you here again. Just putting that one out there. Anything from anybody else? Otherwise, you can go quickly and grab a cup of tea if you need, and then enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.